Welcome to another episode of DIOTALK. I'm Dio. Let's talk. My guest of the evening is the CEO of Turnserv. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Tyler Dunagin. Welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Sir, I'm happy to be here. I can't wait to get into this with you. Let's do
Me
it.
too, man. I'm excited. I've been looking through, I've been researching. Your company is wonderful. It's growing rapidly. Uh, I've seen a couple of your interviews. So much information, man. I don't know where to start. So I'll start with my original question is, what inspired you to do what you do? What inspired you to build Turnserv?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll preface with this. It goes back to the expression, I don't know if entrepreneurs are born or built. I
Mm,
truly feel like I was born just an entrepreneur. I describe myself, if somebody asks me what I do and how would I describe myself, I literally say this every time. I'm just a relentless entrepreneur, right?
mm,
And that doesn't mean that I am careless or cutthroat or anything like that at all. It just means that I pursue what I want to do, and I have an insatiable curiosity about a lot of things. And I tend to be just slightly rebellious, and I'm just curious if there's a better way to do something, only because somebody else is saying like, hey, it has to be done a certain way. I just want to push that envelope a little bit. And so, in a nutshell, that's who I am at my core. Face value, founder of Turnserv, fast growing company. I started in 2018. I had a real estate background. I saw a huge opening, huge opportunity. Left corporate America. I left a comfy job, and I launched our first brand on the Turn platform, which was a painting company of all things. Started off with apartmentpainters.com, got into apartmentflooring.com, Liquid Liner that grew into patents. It grew into software. Now we have partnerships. I'm working on something a little covert right now with lending as well. So in a nutshell, man, I'm just living my best life every day in this playground that they call entrepreneurship, and we're doing it. We're growing fast, and it's endless. So I have no idea where the finish line is. I'm not even close to it though. So let's see.
that's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that. That's wonderful. A lot of new things coming soon, right? For
Always.
for those that don't know, and for the listeners and the viewers, what is TurnServe? Can you explain to listeners and viewers?
Sure. Yeah, so when I was in corporate America, I was managing properties. I managed $250 million worth of multifamily assets for one very wealthy individual.
Wow.
And I came in to, for lack of better words, help him fire his third-party management company and start his own management company. And so doing that, that's when I realized that there was a lot of drop-offs in the market. And there's a lot, everything I needed to run that gentleman's portfolio didn't exist, or it was available at small scale. It's like, well, that's not going to work. I have $250 million worth of assets to run, and I'm like making 25 phone calls a day, just trying to facilitate vendors and all this kind of stuff. So fast forward, what Turnserv is an enterprise solution for property managers to call on, and we process the services between renters moving in and moving out. And so what we do is we'll handle the painting, the flooring, the cleaning, the turnkey services. We're built for scale, we're built for speed, we're built for quality, and those things just don't exist in the property management world from a service solution standpoint. So what we do is just provide a convenience more than anything else. And today it's services and some supply and things like that. Tomorrow it's going to be more, in addition to those things, insurance and IT and everything else. We truly want to be an embedded partner for some of the largest property management companies in the world. And we're already half of that today. We service almost 500 apartments a month. The largest management companies in the US utilize us. We're hoping to scale into more of their portfolio. We kind of have that weird dynamic, and I say
Yeah.
weird because it's kind of atypical of we're just trying to grow fast enough to keep up with their demand. Normally you have to sell, 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 and we do, don't get me wrong, we do sell. But we go after these big relationships and they have hundreds of thousands of apartments under management. We do a good job and they want us in every city across the US. And so we at Turnserv, we help property managers more than anything else. We create a convenience. We're there, but they don't have to talk to us 24/7. They don't have to guess if we're going to show up. We send our teams, we fulfill our own labor, everything else like that, and we get their stuff done in a matter of a day or two, whereas in the industry is operating in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. So convenience, speed, all those things. That's what we do for some of the largest property managers in the US.
Amazing. So you guys serve as a almost like a third party for these property managers, which is incredible. So it's not in-house. It's they need somebody reliant. I have experience in property management, and I can tell firsthand on sometimes in-house, it's not efficient, and they need things to turn around. Ironically, your name is Turnaround Service, right?
Yeah.
It's they need things for now. Especially when you're involving yourself in these high, luxurious buildings, and the property manager is going crazy and ballistic because things are not getting done. So, uh, you're hitting the nail on the head because it's much needed in this rapid industry that properties are growing and growing. Investors are creating these luxurious buildings.
Yeah, and you know the language, so you know that world. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
With in the industry, there's a huge shortage of staff. It's a high pressure, everything's now, everything is delayed. It's tough to play ball in that space. And on average, you're supposed to have one maintenance personnel per 100 units. And what we're seeing in the industry today is it's around one maintenance per technician per 250 units. Huge
Wow.
shortage. Everybody is just scrambling to get things done. Picture a community living in a high-rise building, right? So let's say there's 250 units. Well, there's probably at least 500 people living in that building when you account for families and everything else. And when you factor in 50% of renters move every single year, there is a huge demand and you need it now. You need it quick. So, in addition to those maintenance teams trying to keep up with residents' requests, I mean, picture it. I live in an apartment, right? My disposal goes bad. So the lights are out, something like that, right? Well, we're making calls to get them to come service it. Well, they have to focus on that, but then they also have to focus on, hey, Unit 102 moves out on Wednesday. We have another move in the following
Yes.
Tuesday. What do we do? So you are completely just frazzled on one side, and you're trying to be proactive on the other. And those two worlds just don't really get along all the time. And then lastly, you sprinkle in, these are people's livelihoods that live at these complexes, right? I mean, if you put yourself into their shoes for a second, right? If you live somewhere and there's something wrong, your patience only lasts so long. Like, hey, my light's been out for 6 days now. Can you please send somebody? Or hey, the trash chute's been broken for 3 days, and all these things pop up urgently out of nowhere. And so that creates a very tough dynamic. The average property manager is on the job for less than 8 months across the globe. And that should tell you that there's probably a quality of life issue that goes into that space. And
Mm.
that's what I decided to try to fix because I used to be that property manager. I used to have to call on people. I used to have to try to help residents that didn't have a solution, and my hands were tied because maintenance staff was short. I was losing people left and right because of the pressure of the job or what have you. And those things are normal. We see it every single day. That's this is another day in property management that we are slowly improving as fast as we can.
No, I agree. I agree. 100%. I over 10 years, I did property management throughout states, Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. And I'm operations. I'm somebody who comes out in, I do the walk. I see, hey, this needs to be fixed, this and that. And one of the big problems with that, the understaffing. And you cannot find somebody reliable or experienced, or it's too far because in certain locations, I'm not sure over there, but here they're reconstructing new buildings, and it's kind of far than your regular shopping mall. So to get somebody out there, take the bus, it's challenging at times.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
reliability is highly important, and then having a company like yours makes everything truly easier.
Yeah, yeah. And normally when you find that one vendor that's pretty good, right?
Hmm.
And I know these guys well. I love these guys. This is not a knock on them. They are very good as individuals, right? You think of the best painters on site or the best plumbers, right? When you call these kind of places, you want the best technician. Well, there's only so many best ofs a lot of the
Hmm.
times. Or if you're in property management and you know of hey, Joe and Jill are a great duo. They're a cleaning team, and they'll come out and they'll clean. Well, you can only keep them so busy, right? And what I mean by that is they're only able to produce a certain amount of outcome. If there's 25 apartments to do that week and they're only able to do three, which is not a knock on them, it's just realistic, then what do you do about the others, right? And
Hmm.
that's where it creates more demand and more hassle. And you said it right, getting reliable people is tough because you're making calls from miles away at this point, just desperately trying to find somebody. New construction's going on. Then you have trades, which is a massive shortage of people willing to do blue collar work nowadays, right? And it's just a complete vacuum of, I call it opportunity. Other people call it a just death spiral. But that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on providing convenient things to the space. And beyond that, like every single day I get to wake up and do this. Like there's so much opportunity in front of us. We have the clients. They utilize us for certain services. This morning I was brainstorming another solution that we could implement through our company to this. And so really there's so much lack of attention on the space, which there shouldn't be. And that's starting to change, but there's so much opportunity in front of everybody. I'm just sitting here every morning like, why aren't more people doing this? And
Hmm.
that's why we're scaling fast. So it checks a lot of boxes for me, to be honest with you.
I think it's a unique position because uh no, like in the time we're in right now, nobody wants likes to maintain. Everyone likes to do things quick and have it done for them. So uh I don't want to say lazy people. It's just nobody, doesn't want to maintain, and that's highly important. And as a human's life, you have to maintain your house. You have to maintain where you live. You have to maintain good habits. It's all about maintaining. But you got it under control, and that's the most important part. I need to call you, right? How
Yeah,
long
that's it.
how long has it been since you started to present time?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I did right before corporate America because it ties into this directly. So I started my first. I'll back up here. So I played high school football. That was going to be everything for me. I was going to be the next NFL star. You name
Hmm.
it. You know the dream. And I went and played college football. Moved out to West Virginia. Got hurt a bunch of times. Moved home. Was going to hang it up. Played semi-pro for a little bit, and then fast forward a little bit more. Found out I was going to have a kid. Right, and I was like, oh man, like no more football. I got to go make some money. And so the hard part was football was my whole life for a while, right? And I was like, man, like this switch flipped fast. And so I talked to a few mentors in my life and I looked up to certain people. I was like, oh, what do they do? They do real estate, right? I'm like, oh, cool, let's do that. The only thing is I didn't have any money and I didn't know what I was doing. And so I
Yeah.
started off just doing handyman services for real estate investors. And little by little, I learned that craft. And this was like in my early 20s. And so this at this point, so I'm 34 years old right now. And so this was my early 20s. And I just kind of built my way up from me doing hands-on services to doing a little bit larger remodels and then renovations. And then I had a 15-person team that was helping flipping houses. And I would go in on houses with them and everything else like that. And what I realized was that model worked very well, but because of all the variables, it was an incredibly stressful job. That's what it created for
Yes.
myself, job. And I couldn't find somebody to replace me. Even not saying that there's not good people in that space, but they're doing it for themselves if they're any good. And so that was my early 20s, mid 20s, give or take. And again, I talked to the same mentors that kind of steered me to real estate. And I said, hey, like I'm working like over almost 100 hours a week. None of these buildings are the same. I can't keep on just guessing, like I have to be there 24/7, running to the store, waiting to see what happens, seeing what's behind the wall. And somebody said, hey, you should look into multifamily real estate. And this is somebody that I respect very much. And he's actually a mentor of mine today. And this gentleman owns a large corporation, and he has billions and billions of dollars under management. And he's local to me. I'm so lucky that he was local, and he responded to my cold email. And he told me, he's like, hey, you should look at multifamily if this is the stresses you're having. Like if single family's not doing it, look at multi. Well, there again, I didn't know shit about multifamily, to be honest with
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And so we came up with a game plan that I was going to manage multifamily to get familiar with it. and I learned it quickly and whatnot. So by this time, it was, my mid 20s, 26, 27, corporate America, and that's when I did the transition for the gentleman that owned all those properties, and that's where I learned everything. And so in 2018 is when February 2nd, 2018 is when I forced myself to get on the Ohio Secretary of the State website, and I formed the registration because it was in my head for a year before that. And I kept on saying like, "Hey, this is a good idea." And I got tired of telling myself it was an idea. I got so tired of it. And I was like, "No, I'm going to do it." And it wasn't that it wasn't that the LLC cost $100. It wasn't like $100 motivated me to do it. It was just a sheer act. It's like, hey, it's going to get out of my head. It's going to get into the real world now. This is step one. And so to answer your question, long story short, I launched it in 2018 was the first version of that brand. And in that time, we've launched four additional companies. And there was a span of 3 years, and I launched $1 million company 3 years in a row, brand new company underneath that company. And so I've been doing it now, Turnserv technically 7 years, but with my background in real estate and then management, I view that as an extension and a continuation because it took me going through those periods of my life to launch what I have today. So we can call it 2018 was the first day, the company, but realistically, it was way before that where I didn't realize I was building this thing. I was working on it, not knowing it.
Oh man, there you have it. Years later, Turnserv.
Yeah,
That's important, man. That's it. That's important because you have to know where it started constructing your idea. So you could appreciate it where you're at now. And it's a long journey, but when you get there, usually sooner than later. But 34, you're at a great position. There's a lot of 34-year-olds that are not, don't have the mindset to build that. But it's I think putting yourself in a lot of predicament of pressure, right? That's
yeah,
the most important part, and where uh, that pressure helped you grasp quickly and keep moving.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Just putting
because
yourself in.
yeah, because flipping houses is good, but like when you're first starting, like there's 30. They try to sell a house in 30 days. But that's 30 days you're waiting on something to happen. You're not There's nothing coming in or out, even as a real estate. And basically, I think want to say from 2018 to now, that's a lot of over flow of agents, right? And where they just hold their license, and once they began to go on a journey, they realized it wasn't that easy to make, a couple $100. And if you're not
Yeah.
constantly evolving, I mean, in real estate, there's a lot of avenues, but you have to continue like trying what works for you, and obviously that's what you did.
Yeah. You said something I want to talk about for a second here. And you mentioned putting yourself into situations where you're just under pressure and you go.
Yeah.
And I take myself back like when I started it, it's not that I was a glutton for punishment or anything like that at all. It's because I wanted different results for my life. And I knew like if I kept on doing what I've always done, I'd always get what I always got, right?
Hmm.
And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And so there was a span of my life to where I flipped the switch and I just wanted to learn all that I could, talk to as many smart people that would talk to me. And I still try to do this to this day of putting myself in rooms where I'm the dumbest person in that room. And it's not a knock on anybody's IQ or like a gauge on where I am, but just being so unfamiliar with the topic and just learning and just being there just to listen instead of like contribute and try to feel clever, like, oh, I know this. Like, yeah, let's talk this, let's do that instead of putting myself in those situations to where I'm all ears and I have zero to give anybody else in that room, and just being a sponge. And then that's one half of it. Then putting it into action, and just I think a lot of people don't do something out of fear. And that's been my experience at least when I talk to people and they say, "Hey, what made you finally decide to do it?" Like wow, like I can't believe the big hurdles. I'm not understating them by any means. I'm not saying it's super easy. You have to be pretty resilient and you'll learn a lot about yourself as you do it. But I think if I had to put a number on it, this is completely just made up here. I would say probably 90% of people that want to do something are probably capable of doing a version of it, even if it's smaller than what they want to do. But they don't do it because they think that there's some magic hand that has to swoop down and like lead the way or give them something or what have you.
Hmm.
Reality of it is that the 10% of people that do and act, they do nothing but benefit because a lot of people just don't do. I don't think what I'm doing is overly clever. End of the day, like we're painting apartments, we're refinishing bathtubs and all these things. Strategically, it's cool and it makes sense. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't want to undermine myself all the way, but I really think that that fear holds so many people back, and it's fear of failure. But more than that, I think most people fear embarrassment, right? More than anything. Hey, if I do this, it's going to make me look stupid. Hey, if this doesn't work, oh man, it's a huge L. You got to reframe that. Like that's what I tell people that say that to me is like you can't fear starting. Like, yeah, there's going to be struggles. You got to anticipate some of the hurdles, but just you have to be able to just to like roll up your sleeves and just try it. And I think that's what separates 99% of the doers in the world, just because they either had A, like I say this about myself sometimes, they had the stupidity not to see any of the hurdles, or B, like they knew that they were there, but they wanted to try anyways, you know?
Mhm.
So just getting the ball rolling is a massive thing, and putting yourself in the situation to feel that pressure that you talked about, and having to face things and like watching yourself in these tendencies of, hey, like my natural response to this might be flight or flight, I'm out of here, right? Well, reality of it is if you sit there long enough and notice what's going on and watch how you respond to it, you can learn a lot about yourself and grow.
Yeah,
So just starting it is most of the battle, man, honestly.
absolutely, absolutely. It's it's a lot of individuals are afraid of making a mess. They have the experience, but not putting it into action, building it for themselves. Like it's, the employee and boss mentality. Like they know how to do it for others, but it's that process of figuring it out. How can they do it for themselves? Right. And the only way you can do that is to trial and error. Not everything you do, it's gonna make sense, like I'll get when I first started my operations, right? At one point, I left corporate and I did it for myself, and I did it as an independent contractor. And what I did, because I'm very good at managing, I'll just hire workers, and not knowing how do it for myself, it took me some time, and sometimes the workers I hired weren't great, but the output was that I was reliable. I wasn't great, but I kept showing up, and they can continue to give me the opportunity. And as I did more and more, I got better. I got better. I got better. And nobody knows, right? Like as much experience you have, nobody knows when it comes to time to do it for yourself. So you have to be openly and willingly and make a mess of whatever you're doing and learn as you go, because failure, it's essentially what's going to teach you what not to do. Like,
Yeah.
your mentor, he had to go through a series of experience that he obviously failed to sit there and maybe to give you advice. Hey, don't do this, do this. Maybe you should try this, right?
Well said. So well said. You're right. It's putting yourself out there, realizing what doesn't work. That's almost more valuable than seeing what does work,
Yeah.
right? I can't begin to explain to you. So I'll use another example here. So one of my businesses, we have an epoxy coating of all things, and I won't get into the details, but it's essentially you put it on bathtubs, and instead of replacing tubs, you could put it on, and it'll make it look brand new.
Yeah.
It's called Liquid Liner, right? And we developed it 2 years ago. It's been recently patented, right? And all these things. And it was tested against Sherwin-Williams, Lowe's, and Home Depot. And although, shout out to our partners over there, you guys are cool. Our product was rated better. And where I'm going with this is you mentioned trial and trying and showing up and keep going. We had over 70 versions of our product from R&D before we pulled the trigger on which one actually ended up being the one that we patented and used every single day. And just being willing to be wrong 69 times before that, if we would have stopped after two or three, we wouldn't be where we are today. The reality of it is it's a continuation of effort, and not looking at it in the sense of, oh shoot, like, hey, I'm going to look bad here, what have you. I've learned the people that truly are doing things, they know it's a part of the process. The people that are above you or that you strive to be, they never are the ones that cast judgment on, oh, you failed once, you got to hang it up here. They know they've been through that journey. It's always the people that are behind you or people that are kind of naysaying that are saying, ah, you failed once, like, we showed you here. So again, like that perception, I think a lot of that lives in our own minds more than anything else, but there's definitely an element of it to where social media or public lack of validation, whatever else it is, we can't help but feel that as humans sometimes, right? So you said it well. You just got to keep on showing up. You got to keep on going. And had we not done that, we wouldn't have one of our coolest flagship products around today.
What's it called?
So it's called Liquid Liner. And so there's picture like a tub insert, right? You hear these
Hmm.
things like one day bathrooms and whatnot. They'll come out and they'll put a brand new shower surround over your old
Hmm.
bathtub and whatnot. That's cool. But those products cost, probably five to $10,000 to do those quick
Yeah.
bathrooms. And in the world we play ball in multifamily, one, they don't have time to wait on permits. They don't have time to wait on demo and all these other kind of things, and they don't have the budget for those things. And so what liquid liner is, it's a two-part epoxy. It looks like a shoebox, and it has everything you need. You open the box, pull out your backpack, and you can literally pour over this product on a bathtub, and it's self-leveling. It's 30 times thicker than spray-on applications, and it's zero odor, zero VOC, all these things. And what it does is it saves property managers and homeowners time and money, and it's a safer solution. And so we came up with that. We came up with the whole system because the market, what goes on today is, you have these HVLP sprayers, which are just big drones that send out a ton of air, and they spray these highly potent products in the air, and they're dangerous, right? They're
Wow.
banned, and you have to wear a full hazmat suit. That's actually how we started our product company, and this is kind of like a reflection on how I'm able to identify some opportunities and start them. We actually weren't able to paint an apartment twice because there were smells coming from it. One of my best
Wow.
painters, one of my lead guys, called me 2 days in a row at this point because this is when before I had a manager, before I had anybody, I was doing it still. He called me one day and said, "Hey, can't service this unit. There's an awful smell. It smells bad." I said, "No problem. Get out of there, Tony. Like, do your thing, man. I trust you. Like, I want to reroute you." Call me the next day. "Hey, boss, same thing." I'm like, "That's weird. Like this is my best guy, so I trust him and whatnot." I show up to the property and right away I walk into it and you're in the hallway. You just smell this super high VOC. Smelled like varnish or nail polish remover or
Yeah.
what have you, and mixed with other things. And there was a person in there that was spraying on bathtub solutions to refinish. And I put a mask on and I waited for this guy and I talked his ear off afterwards. I helped him carry his stuff to his car and I said, "I'm going to help you carry this. Let me ask you any questions I have." He's like, "Knock yourself out." I learned everything he did in that unit and how he's doing it and why. And then that night, I literally called our reps at Sherwin-Williams and said, "Hey, I need this equipment, this." And I replicated what that guy was doing. And I drove out from Ohio to Indianapolis. Same night, I was in the car for a long time. I got all the equipment, I brought it back, and we started testing out this whole thing because I felt like there was a better way to do it. And when he told me how much money he made on it, it's like, man, there's huge opportunity here. Why aren't more people doing this? And I'll be honest with you, like I asked him, I said, how long were you here for? He's like, I don't know, like 5 hours. I said, "How much money did you make today?" He's like, "Over $800." I was like, man, like, okay, there's an opening here. And so that's what kind of compelled me to look at it, but also because it seemed like it was just inefficient. So where I'm going with all this is, had I not saw that opportunity and had I not like had just like the self, I don't know what to call it, self encouragement, so to say, to try something new, it would have never happened. But that's exactly how we started our product company. That's how we started our flooring company, and a similar story. You name it, on and on. And now we're working on other products and service offerings that are kind of similar to that. But it all goes back to, if we are too nervous to try because there's other people that are better than us or these perceived experts in the world, it just won't ever take off. So we
Hmm.
we kind of just don't have that anymore, and we just kind of just do whatever we want because we know it's going to be useful and helpful. So that's kind of been our approach. It's been helpful. It's been a lot of fun for me, and the cool part is there's no end in sight. The
Hmm.
way I form my companies, I want to get in private equity after this. I want to do some things like that that. So we formed our companies, a parent company up top, subsidiaries underneath of it. We could pull one off, we could sell one, we could invest in one, all those kind of things, and that's how we're built today. And that actually we got private equity back last year just because of a lot of things, but also our corporate structure really helped us in that. So yeah, it's never ending, but all of it, just to reiterate, it comes back down to mindset. It's not self-confidence, it's realistic, knowing the variables, but being okay if it doesn't work and how you're going to respond to it, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100%. That 100%. And congrats on that because I think that's been a game changer in you moving forward in your company as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Where can they find Liquid Liner? Can they find it at your website?
Yeah, so liquidliner.com is the best place to find it. It's exclusively sold by us. There's no retail,
Nice.
nothing like that at all. It's very as funny as it is and as fast as it's scaled. So Liquid Liner Services has ventured into 5 cities in less than a year at this point, and we're still updating the website and whatnot. We've been trying to keep up with the growth, and so the website's cool and all those kind of things. We really haven't opened the door all the way to everybody to be able to purchase, but we will work with strategic partners in a very small group of people to sell to and all those kind of things. But for services, we'll help you out no matter what. But yeah, liquidliner.com to check out that product is the best place to find it.
And you guys are based out in Cleveland, correct?
Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, we're in Cleveland, Akron, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and we're tiptoeing into Chicago.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So
Thank
you
you.
guys offer painting, um, uh, renovations of some sort, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So our whole umbrella, so Turnserv is the one call, so to say, and then we deploy our in-house brands. So our painting brand, and I say the whole name because it's specific. So apartmentpainters.com should
Mhm.
tell you exactly what we do. We
Yeah.
focus on same thing with our flooring brand, apartmentflooring.com. Again, same nature, right? And we have so many new things coming out too. We have a commercial division where we'll do some CapEx, some bids and fulfillment and whatnot. And that's growing. And I just want to give a quick note. We talked about mentorship a little bit and like seeing an opportunity and
Yeah.
whatnot. The person that inspired me the most to name my companies what I did, and he doesn't even know this, but Brian Scudamore of OTE Brands, and he is the 1-800 Got Junk guy, if you're not familiar with his
Yeah.
name. And I kept on seeing his trucks and his signs everywhere. And I'm like, why would he put a phone number as his company name? And then like the more I thought on it when I was younger, I was like, that's genius. That is so smart. And that's what inspired me to name my companies what I did. And it's funny, we actually own probably 50 different apartmentx.com. Right. And
Mm.
I was just talking to somebody about this on LinkedIn. And my friend Rand, I showed him my domains. I told him about them one day, one of the two, and I was going down the list. Like we own like apartmentpowerwashers.com, like on and on and on. And he was giving us some props because of that arsenal. But all of that is because Brian Scudamore inspired me to look beyond. Although his is a phone number and mine's a website, same concept. So shout out to Brian Scudamore.
Shout out to him. Um, and your flooring, what do you offer when you do flooring? Do you do strip and wax, renovation?
So a lot of it's just relay. So the biggest changes that we'll do is people going from soft coverings to like vinyl, and
Mm.
that'll be like the most transformational thing that we'll do. At the end of the day, a lot of apartments are just big rectangles, same colors, same floors, you
Yeah.
name it. Really predictable and really easy. So we'll swap out carpets and do some plank as well, and that's it. It's a simple model with a huge opportunity in front of us to keep on scaling, and we'll see what happens with it. But again, we're not going. The reason why we don't have like a hardwood floor installation division and all these other kind of things. Think about what you'd find in an average apartment, right? Not a
Yeah.
luxury apartment, not like a $30 million condo or something like that, but just the average, from luxury to affordable apartments. That's what we focus on because that's where the bulk of the apartment stock is, and that's easy to build services around. If you do one apartment that way, you can do a million of them that way. But that's where our focus is. Those sort of services right there. And we're growing outward. We're actually looking at acquiring a couple of local flooring companies just to kind of build out that team a little bit more. And flooring is definitely like one of we've been doing it for a little while now, but liquid liner took off so fast that it got almost all of our attention. And so now like we're
I mean, it's a
we're
great
making
product,
sure.
you know. It's
Yeah,
flexible.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And there's a lot of options for it. But flooring was, kind of one of those things. It inadvertently got pushed like more towards the back burner. Although we were doing services, we weren't trying to blow it up or send it
Mhm.
across the nation. But soon,
It's just one of many things you offer, which is an arsenal, which is very important to have. So,
yeah, exactly. And that's we come back. Our biggest value proposition to our customers is convenience. If we could do something well, and what I mean by well is we do it better than anybody else, and we could do it at scale. We want to be able to do that. I probably have 3 or 4 different service lines a week that I look at that our clients are calling on, relying on, and whatnot. And I say to myself, my team, like, can we do this a little bit better? And a lot of the times, our customers will even ask, like, hey, like we're struggling to find landscapers. Can you guys help us come up with something? Like, it's a good idea. So really it's a unique vacuum that we're in because we're getting solicited to drum up new service lines and companies for our current client business. And it goes back to the model. You know, our model is B2B. We don't go after individual renters. We don't go after homeowners. We go after management companies that have hundreds of thousands of units under management. And when 50% of renters move every single year, you can imagine the demand. So there's a huge, huge opportunity in the space.
yeah, and that's the place to aim. There's a lot of property managers that are overwhelmed. They can handle the daily task. Some of them, just have a degree and don't really have experience. So I think you're doing a great job, man. You know,
Thank you.
uh,
Appreciate that.
I
Can I
think
ask you a question?
yes, sir.
Okay, so we talk about mindset, we talk about like getting the ball rolling and going. Can you take a minute to describe to me the feeling when you thought about doing this? I don't know if it
Hmm.
was self-inspired or say you had a friend or somebody close to you like, hey, you should do your own talk show or do something like
Yeah.
that. Did like explain that first like leap of faith that you took. Was there fear, uncertainty? Was it natural for you? Or explain like right before you did your first episode, what did that feel like?
Oh man. Honestly,
Yeah.
it was one of those moments that I have, and I apologize for my language, but it was like a fuck it moment, and you just did it. It's something that I like growing up. I used to listen to a lot of radio. Like it's something I really enjoyed, and it wasn't like I used to listen to like late night radio where they had long conversations and people would call in certain topics, economy, relationships, whatever. So social status, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's something that I've always liked. I just didn't know how to. Um, and what really changed for me was that my son got diagnosed with autism, and the living the corporate life wasn't giving back. Like financially, yeah, I was making 65 a year, from making nothing before working myself up there. But I was never home. My wife needed help. My son needed help. Mm, and I took a risk and turned into entrepreneurship. Doing real estate. My wife, being somebody who knows dissects operations, but also property search and all that. And I saw an opportunity to do this, and I said, I don't know how. I've never done this before. I don't know how is it gonna go. I don't know how is it gonna look, right? uh, because a lot of us don't start because we're waiting for this vision. We're waiting to have the perfect things, and most likely you're not going to have the perfect things. You got to use what you have, use what you know, and start from there. And in that moment, I said, "Fuck it." I had at that time there was a free version of Zoom, where there was no limits, right? I
Yeah.
had a laptop. I had already invested in mics. And my first guest was this gentleman from Florida who, ironically, is he has a business of power washing. down in
Yeah.
Florida, and I recorded it. Boom, an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and I recorded like somebody who started his business dog walking, uh, and then somebody who was starting his like own gaming brand. Then somebody who's in the cleaning business, and I pre-recorded like five or six, and when time came, I just started releasing them.
So cool. Yeah.
Trial and error.
Yeah. You mentioned that feeling of like, no, fuck it. Like, here we go. I think that element right there, there's nothing like that in your life, like from the adrenaline aspect, right? And then the feeling of accomplishment. And even if you don't succeed, but you tried, you learn a lot about yourself in those moments, man.
Hmm.
I think of and it's cool. Your purpose and your why, your son, your wife, everything like that. That's so cool, man. So props to you on that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Um, yeah, of course. But that just that because I could probably relate to that feeling, and I remember it if it was anything similar of just like sitting there and just deciding to do it finally. Like, you know what? Like, what else am I going to lose? Like at this point, like I have nothing else to lose. Let's just try it. Let's go.
Hmm.
And you're right. Like, I was definitely not an expert when I started my stuff. You mentioned like you weren't an expert on yours. You use the
Hmm.
free version of Zoom. There's a ton of resources out there for people just to start. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And where I'm going with all that is it goes back to that just mindset of just do it. Just truly just try something. If your why is right, everything else will
Yeah,
follow. Even if
yeah.
you fall short, you'll feel accomplished afterwards.
Hmm.
And that it didn't work will feel a lot better than regretting it in the future.
Yeah,
So props to you, man. That's a cool story. Thanks for sharing that with me.
I
I don't know how
appreciate
often
it.
people
Thanks
have
for
questions like
asking.
that on your talk show, but I'm always just curious about other perspectives too. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, man, it's I think at least in my perspective, right? It's comes down to a boiling point. What are you going to do? Like things have to change. You see better for yourself. It's like I've been wanting to start a cleaning company, right? Because that's what I'm good at. But my biggest problem is not starting. My biggest problem is finding people that are reliable,
Yeah,
that want to do it. Because you can do it yourself, but like when you have the vision of growing, like you can't do it on your own. It's only so much you can do. And you want to get to a level like you and where you started your own and where you started finding people worthy you can trust, and you like your business and your brand. It's not the name, it's the credibility. It's the value that you provide in your service. That's what helps you grow. It's not
yeah,
just the strategizing, and it has to mean something. It comes from a good place. You were at a point, you had a kid on the way, right? You were a dad. Everything's going fast. What are you going to do? Your dreams of football back going. What are you going to do? Well, I know this. I've been doing it for some time, for some time now. Let's try this, and try and ever. Boom. Years later, here you are.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And you said it well too. Finding reliable people can be tough, right? That's another
Hmm.
topic that we can talk about for days. Really, that part right there. So we have towards summer we'll have closer to like 65 people, give or take, right? We try to run as lean as possible. And I remember like when I first started and it was me. I was a technician. I was everything. I was everyone in the company at that point, right? I was the only technician for like that first like 6 months or so, right? And I remember at the time, like trying to get people to show up and like, I hope you show up today. Like, hey, I'm going to pay you a lot of money. You want to work today? Like, like
Hmm.
let's try this out. And that step for me in that phase was probably one of the toughest because you have all these ambitions. You should get a little bit of success and you
Yeah.
can see it going to work. But now if you can only replicate yourself a little bit more,
Hmm.
right? Like if you're so close. And so what I started doing, and it's just one of those kind of natural things. It's like ebb and flow. There's a huge gray area, right, that you got to kind of bridge. But what I started doing is that whole thing of like struggling to find people early on was like seriously beating me up all the time. I was like, all right, I'm going to be as process based as possible. I'm going to have all these KPIs, and and the thing is, I didn't know anything about KPIs at the time. I just researched them, like, all right, what could I do to help like manage
Hmm.
this company? And you just learn it, and then little by little, like all of a sudden, I remember. I'll use this morning as an example. And it's not because I'm too good or anything else like that. Like quite the opposite. I just don't have the time to go to every city and meet every technician that we have. There was somebody at my office this morning, and I've never seen this person. He's in a full-fledged
Hmm.
uniform. And I was looking at him and I looked at my VP and I said, "Who's this?" And he said, "Oh, that's Tyrone from Columbus." And I said, "That's amazing." So where I'm going with all that is eventually that flips. And then when you have people that are empowered to kind of control certain
Hmm.
aspects of it, and you understand like what motivates people and you're able to give it to them, right? And that's a tough part because every new organization wants to be a good employer, but you can't afford the best benefits. You can't afford
Yeah.
like all of these things. And so really you got to really just embrace and embody your purpose and try to find people that align with that. And so we started to have
You're setting the foundation.
yeah, that's it, 100%. And what I did was I had to build up processes, and then I just had to kind of take a leap of faith and trust that other people can do it too, and keep on refining that, work on our purpose, right? And really come up with core values. But what really changed once I was able to do it, and again, this is tough day one, but you'll get there eventually. Anybody that starts something new, eventually you will get there. We started giving managers a concept called phantom equity in my company. And
Mm.
that aligned our interest because phantom equity is pretty much stating, hey, I'm going to hire somebody. Here's their salary, here's their perks, etc. But also, they are going to get an equity-like incentive where if I sell this company or get acquired, whatever else it might be, they also benefit. And so when I talk about selling my companies for $1 billion one day, I don't have to whisper because they want that too, right?
Hmm.
And I think that just camaraderie and that including them. I mean, imagine this flip. If I were to flip spots with them, and all of a sudden my employer was also giving me upside and a piece of that ownership in that thing, I'm going to work my tail off, even if it
Yes.
doesn't. And I'm not doesn't mean I'm going to run around and sweat all day long, but I'm going to naturally be motivated and just like
Hmm.
want to show up every single day because if they benefit, I benefit. And so when I started doing that, that's when we really started to get a lot of interest. I remember there was one summer where I was struggling to get everybody, uh, to get enough people, and we grew by so much of that phase, and it was a challenge. Then I made one good hire, and everything kind of fell into place. And then I remember one month, just out of nowhere, I started getting applicants from some of the largest corporations around us, and from my management staff. I literally had Fortune 500 employees, so to say, applying to work at my companies. And I remember sitting there, I had the worst case of imposter syndrome known to man. Because I'm sitting there like, well, do they know like we're a small company? Do they know? And I'm like looking around, we have like 35 employees at that point. I'm like, well, we're doing some cool stuff though. Like we provide a cool service.
Hey, never
So that
cut
was
yourself short. Never.
yeah, yeah, that was kind of one of those full circle moments for me. And we ended up hiring a good amount of Fortune 500s. And I get calls every week from people like across the US, like, hey, I work for, place in big company, public company. I saw this position. Could I have a conversation with you? I'm interested. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So at this point now I'm kind of used to it and I embrace it and I realize the power in kind of chasing purpose with people, so to
Hmm.
say. But I remember that at first, and just that flip from like begging people to show up, can't find anybody reliable, to now all of a sudden like the biggest corporations and some of their employees like reaching out to me like, "Hey, can I work with you?" So, and that happens quick. That in a matter of like 24 months, that spectrum completely changed on us. The pendulum swung the other way. So that happens really quick, and that was just kind of one of those like aha moments. Kind of a cool
Yeah.
moment.
Isn't it crazy? At one point, you had to beg people to give them opportunities. That's insane, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know, if you have a chance, if you ever got the opportunity, meet all your employees, man, because like you gotta remember, like I put myself in this predicament often when I worked in corporate, and when like I once was a worker, right? And now I have this higher position. You know, people think that we're not humane. We don't care. So
yeah,
like when I would show up and inspect my properties, I'm in a suit and tie, right? And and I would approach the cleaner and say, "Hey, how are you? What's your name?" And we would just start to talk, and slowly, like I would start taking out my jacket, rolling up my sleeves, and right? I'm right there cleaning with that person. I'm here cleaning a toilet. I'm here making money, having, and I'm helping her clean a toilet. And I did it because it was important for me, at least, to remind everyone that we all came from the same place, and that if I can make it here, you can. There's discipline. There's certain criteria you need to adapt and evolve as a human being, as a worker, to get to certain levels. Obviously, you have mastered and adapt it to get where you're at. But it's always good to remind that in any given moment, your life can change. You just got to come with a decision, and how much do you want it, and how disciplined can you become.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a really good perspective. And it's powerful too. It's powerful for everybody.
One last question before we go, man. If you had to give advice to somebody who's trying to do what you're doing in any industry, and they're having a tough time to just start, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, look internal first and be really honest with themselves and not out of a place of like judging yourself out of something. Instead, finding the strength within yourself and your why. If you have a good purpose, if you understand why you're doing things, and it's never really that first layer, right? Like somebody says, hey, I want to make more money. Okay, take us further, like, and there's some vanity things that people chase, and that's fine, to each their own. But somebody might say like, oh, I remember my, younger self talking to friends. Oh, I wanted a Lamborghini one day, and that changes. You know what I mean? But where I'm going with that is, if you have a really sound idea of why you want to do something, and where's that coming from? Like, is it because you lack financial security in your younger life? Is it because you want to prove to somebody that you can do something, or you want to make somebody proud, like a parent or a coach or whatever it might be? If you understand your first like reason why, and then you start to kind of dissect that and whatnot, you're going to kind of arrive at, like you said, that fuck it moment. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to be able to validate yourself and not rely on others giving you that, you're going to just kind of just open the door and go, and just really realize that you probably have way less time than you think. And everyone always says like, oh, once I'm ready, once I'm an expert, I'm going to do these things. Listen, nobody that's done anything has started off as an expert. Like that's just reality of it. And so understanding yourself and what drives you, but more than that, understand why. And it's okay, whatever that reason is. Like that's up for you to judge if you're okay with that or not. But if you can understand what motivates you, you're going to be able to do things. And I'll leave it with this. There are far less qualified people doing more than you in your life. And all they decided to do was just start. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler Dunagin, the great. Before we go, please tell the people they can find you.
I'm active as can be on social media, LinkedIn, Tyler Dunagin. I'm there looking at businesses, networking, you name it. DunaginCollective.com is my personal website. Kind of has my bio, some links to my socials and everything else like that. Send smoke signals, send me messages, whatever else it is. I will respond unless it's an AI generated sales prompt, then it just gets filtered. But just reach out to me. I would love to talk to people. Dunagin Collective, my company's Turnserv.com, and it has all my other ones underneath of it. Social media is the best way, man, for sure.
Boom, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you need service, just reach out. He's there to help you. And go follow him, go support him, go share his interviews, and reach out for at least a quote. You never know. Things could be life changing. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Mrs. Go like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We're 10K. We're growing. Please like and subscribe and
Go.
support us. That's DIOTALK TV. So we continue giving you these amazing interviews and meeting these amazing individuals like Tyler. Um, yeah. Have a good night, guys. I'm out.